Welcome to the Two Wealth Show, a show that shares how you can create real wealth for you and your family. I'm one of your hosts, Justin Bogard, and my co-host is Elizabeth Sickles, aka Super E. I am a real estate note investor, specializing in performing residential real estate debt. I find the deals, acquire them for my own portfolio, as well as educate investors while walking them through the process of owning a real estate note. My co-host Super E, a real estate investor, specializing in short-term rentals and the management of them. She connects investors with short-term tenants and manages everything in between. Our show is sponsored by PATHNOTES and Elizabeth Mayora. You can find out more information by visiting our websites at PATHNOTES.com and ElizabethMayora.com. Hey, Super E. How's it going?
Justin Bogard, happy 2021.
Happy 2021 to you too. And welcome to episode 2, everybody, of the season 3. So, Super E, we've got a lineup today of another guest, well, our first guest of 2021 season 3, right?
That's right.
So,
yes.
I'll let you go ahead and do some introductions to our friend here, and I'll bring him up in the background.
All right. So we have the pleasure of having Jack Forbes. He is the co-founder of Kopa. We've been on Kopa since November now. He's also, a very fun fact about Jack is he is a Forbes 30 under 30. So we're very honored to have you today, Jack. So welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Jack, thanks for being on our show, man. I don't think we've ever had somebody of this stature on our show, right?
That's right.
I feel my name.
Only the cream of the crop for season 3, right, Elizabeth?
That's right. So, Jack, do you want to tell our audience a little bit about your company and why you started it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Kopa, love that you got the link up there. Started as a actually passion project, a problem we faced ourselves moving around and renting for these month-to-month periods. And we just found there wasn't really a solution for that, what we call medium-term housing. We found Airbnb had the short-term 1 to 30-day stuff down pretty well. There's some solutions for the 12-plus month markets. But yeah, for the in-between, we were struggling to find that furnished, 3 to 6 month housing in our case. And that was the inspiration. And then after 5 years of working on that, we asked our hosts, hey, we love building technology. What else should we build? What can you use? And they all were saying they wanted to take direct bookings to, a website of their own. And we said, hey, well, we've spent 5 years building this, medium-term housing marketplace. So white labeling it so you can use it as your own website is actually pretty easy. So we went ahead and did that, and have been seeing some exciting new customers from that now.
Fantastic.
Excellent. And sorry, Jack, do you want to tell the audience where you're from or where you started up?
Yeah, so I'm Canadian. I started this in Waterloo, Ontario, near Toronto, but have also spent a lot of time in the Seattle area, and I'm now in San Francisco. So I'm coming to you from a sunny but windy San Francisco day.
Nice. I heard a lot of people are leaving San Francisco right now. Do you look out the window and you see fewer people?
Oh, I literally just see them walking by with their suitcases. I'm like, oh, where are you headed? Oh, it's true. It's true. I think rent is dropping in San Francisco more than any other city in the U.S. People are flocking out, going to Austin, Miami, Seattle. I've heard, a little L.A.
Wow, you're going to be the only one there pretty soon, Jack.
I'm leaving too. So yeah, I'm joining the parade.
Go with the masses.
Wow, that's very interesting. But one of the things when we came across Jack's company, it makes it nice for hosts because we did have a software, unless you have a software and all of the softwares are very expensive, this is a fantastic alternative that people can just book directly on your site. So they take the credit card. It's so nice. So he has a huge advantage, and he's much less expensive than the service fees on Vrbo and Airbnb. So I think it's a really genius, not idea because you're doing it, but a genius business.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. Yeah, I think we heard from a lot of hosts that, especially with Airbnb and others increasing their service fees quite a bit, that 15% they've increased it to for hosts is pretty unaffordable for a lot of hosts, and especially for the longer stays, anything over a month, that's a lot of money that they're paying to the platforms. So there's kind of been a wave, a movement of direct bookings, and we heard from our hosts that they weren't really finding a direct booking product that was professional, that really hit a standard they wanted to hit. And we actually found the same as hosts ourselves. So that's why we decided to create directbookingpro.com, which is that new product.
Okay, so is this for the smaller business model of hosts, like 1 to 5 units, or what? Can you pinpoint exactly who would fall in this category?
Yeah, it's definitely geared more toward the smaller hosts,
Okay.
but we actually do already have property managers with up to 400 properties using it. So we're kind of surprised we've seen bigger property management companies using it as well, even though we initially built it for the smaller hosts. So it definitely supports whoever. But yeah, that was our intention, at least.
Very cool.
And have you seen a difference in where are your biggest markets? Where are your biggest booking markets? So pre-COVID and now during COVID.
Oh, that's a good question. Pre-COVID, we were very geographically constrained, trying to make sure we were finding product market fit in specific cities. So we were just focused on the San Francisco Bay Area, Seattle, and New York. But once COVID hit, we actually saw hosts flocking to these medium-term stays. So we suddenly found ourselves in about 75 US cities.
Wow.
So that really kind of exploded with COVID. And now, yeah, the actual bookings, we're definitely seeing some of the ones I mentioned where folks moving to Austin, Miami, Nashville, kind of getting out of some of the big cities, so getting out of San Francisco and New York, and going to some of those up and coming towns and cities.
Any Indianapolis?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't say we've seen too many inquiries there yet, but once the supply is there, I think that the demand will come.
Okay.
One step at a time, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So can you give us some pro tips that people don't necessarily know on getting the bookings, what you've learned over this time?
Oh, yeah. 5 years is a long time to have been building this. So yeah, we've learned a lot in that time. One really good pro tip I like to share is we've seen that listings on Kopa or through Direct Booking Pro with video or 3D tours are at least 3 times more likely to get booked. And so, when you add your listing to directbookingpro.com, you can add a YouTube link, and that can be an unlisted video so that no one else can see it. It only just pulls in through YouTube. But that's free to do, right? It can take a host 3 minutes to record the video, a few more minutes to upload it, and then a few more minutes just to add it to the listing. And for really less than a half hour of work, we've seen over 3 times better conversion on listings with video tours. And if you want to go above and beyond, you could even do a 3D tour. There are some free options. I know there's a Google Tour Creator, but that one is actually sunsetting in July, I think. The more expensive one I think people might know about is Matterport. In that case, maybe if you know someone who already is renting a Matterport, maybe just ask them if you can borrow it at the same time or something. But the video tour alone is at least a huge step up. So that's a really good pro tip that I like to share, because I also haven't really read that online too much, and Airbnbs and whatnot don't support video or 3D tours either. So yeah, so that's a good one. aside from that, a lot of the other kind of pro tips you could find if you do enough research, but getting reviews is an obvious one. Including a headshot of a teammate or yourself is really important, because guests and renters, really want to feel like they can see themselves living there and feel like they're talking to a person, as opposed to maybe doing like a company logo, for example. So, being able to see who they're talking to, we've seen builds trust, and then they're more likely to book. And yeah, those are some of I guess the biggest ones I would say are the best pro tips.
That makes total sense. I'm glad you brought up the video part, because you're exactly right. As you're explaining that, I'm thinking to myself, at the last time that I booked something like that, it's great to see the ins and outs of it, because we have 4 kids in our family. So if we're trying to get a short term on the beach or something, like, we want to see, do they have enough space? What are the beds like? Are they bunk beds? Are they full size beds? We have to group kids together. That's a really good point, and that would be a very good selling point for me, a consumer, looking at that. So kudos for you guys for implementing that. That's a good idea.
Thank you. No, appreciate it. I mean, I think the other thing with it, I should have mentioned too, is with photos too, you can edit them, right? And you could even take maybe a panorama or kind of a wide angle, so it can make the place look bigger. And then guests maybe can come and they're like, hey, this isn't as big as I thought. Whereas video, unless you're really good at video editing, it's hard to, exaggerate anything. So again, I think that builds the trust. So folks know, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting.
Absolutely. Awesome.
And then also, just for any of our listeners, because I also do traditional rentals, and Zillow now has an app that you can do the 3D, Matterport type of virtual tours. So actually, I'm going to use their app this afternoon at some of the properties we have coming up.
That is a great shout out. That's one of the 3D tours supported. It should be pretty much every kind of 3D tour supported on your direct booking or Kopa listing. And yeah, you just plop in that 3D link, and then it automatically renders it when a guest comes to your listing. And so yeah, the Zillow 3D tour app works perfectly.
Awesome. All right. That's
cool.
It's very good to know.
Absolutely. So I'm not in the short-term game like Elizabeth and you are, Jack. So this is all kind of new to me. So when we bring guests on like yourselves, it's really informative for me to learn and soak and absorb exactly how this works and everything. And I had no idea that you mentioned the competition doesn't even have the ability to do videos and stuff. And that definitely stands you out.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little confused as to why the others don't support it. I've even heard at some point some of them did, and then they dropped support. So it really does have a huge impact on conversion. And it's again, like, so easy. Elizabeth, once you do it, you can even share how easy it was.
Yeah. So for people to get a hold of you through your website, if those of you watching on video, you can see this. It's www.kopa.co. And these are for hosts to come and to use your services, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think Elizabeth has her own link, doesn't she?
I do. Yes. And people can come under that one also to sign up as a host.
Awesome.
Use the link you can see here, directbookingpro.com/Elizabeth Mayora. You can also actually use directbookingpro.com/Super E. I just added support as I saw that that's what you go by as well. So either one you can use, and get a fun little discount when you sign up with that one too.
Her actual birth name is Super E.
I believe it.
Hey, Jack, I'm also curious, have you seen an increase in the length of bookings since COVID? And can you talk about that?
Yeah, since we started as a medium-term housing marketplace, like focused on those 1 to 12 month stays, we actually saw a decrease because we saw more of those short-term folks coming to us, whereas the short-term marketplaces did see an increase. So the overall average length of stay has increased, in the world, but in terms of our marketplace, we actually were serving, founders, new grads, interns, and other working professionals that would actually stay like 4 to 8 months previously, and then we actually saw that come down a bit to more like 3 months on average. So yeah, we saw a decrease, but overall it has been an increase.
Okay. I got kind of a side question. I don't know if you have data like this, and this is kind of a shot to you to see how you can answer this. But I was curious as to when you have hosts that actually live in the dwelling versus hosts that don't live there. Do you have data on that? I'm just curious as to what that is.
Yeah, that's a great question. We initially were built around that concept, because
Okay.
we have built Kopa and Direct Booking Pro, especially for those hosts that maybe just have one property to manage, and yeah, maybe they live there. Initially it was a good chunk of the supply on Kopa, but that has become a smaller percent as more and more property managers and property management companies have listed. But since we were built around that from the start, we actually, when you make your listing, we ask, what is your relationship with the property? Are you a property manager? Do you live there? So that we can show that transparent information to the guests or renters when they inquire and request to rent. We found that's a really important one, especially if the host lives there, because a renter, let's say, doesn't want to be surprised to find out like, oh, actually, okay, my landlord lives here.
Right.
That it can be a great thing, and like some people prefer to book that space, but in cases where they thought they'd have the place to themselves, they maybe aren't as happy. So we try and make it as transparent as possible.
Do you see bookings more with people that the host doesn't live there with COVID and stuff going on, or has it been just the same as it was?
Definitely smaller average bedrooms kind of bookings with COVID for sure. So we were seeing 2-bedroom bookings, even up to 3 on average. That's definitely come down closer to just 1 as the average now. Yeah, so folks definitely are booking places for themselves, and even hosts who did rent out, let's say, a 3 to 5 bedroom, we've seen a lot of them just rent out like half of the rooms to make people feel more comfortable. So yeah, definitely, those 1 bedrooms are getting booked more, but I think we're actually on the trend back toward more bedrooms again.
Okay, so you're seeing some normalcy coming back with what it was before February of last year.
Exactly. I think people are a little more comfortable. There's definitely some hysteria to begin with.
Well, rightfully so. It was the unknown, right? It was we don't really know what the effects are and what's going on. And I agree. We definitely have a lot more knowledge and education on what this does and what we need to do to protect ourselves. So, Cool.
And so can you share with us how many listings you do have, Jack, or no?
Yeah. There's now over 20,000 units on Kopa in the US.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting.
That's awesome.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And do you have any plans on going international?
Oh, yeah. Especially my homeland of Canada. It pains me. We still don't technically support Canada, but we did at one point. But since we process all the payments through Kopa or Direct Booking Pro, and make it as easy as possible for the guest or renter to pay either via credit card or ACH. We have to support all the different payment types. So if a renter wants to pay with a bank, we got to make sure we support at least 95% of the banks, or else that's not a great experience. And in Canada, when we did launch there, we only supported about 80%, and it just wasn't a good enough experience that we were comfortable with. So we pulled out of Canada. But yeah, we plan on being in Canada soon, and then Europe next, probably end of this year, I would say.
Okay. For Canada or Canada and Europe?
Canada, I would say, could happen in a few months. Europe will be a few months after. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, you guys are booming.
Can't complain. We're fortunate.
Can you talk to our listeners too about kind of your marketing strategy and how you've been able, 20,000 listings is incredible. So how you've been able to do that?
Yeah. It really, COVID was a lot of that. So we really were just in three geographies primarily before COVID. And then it was actually primarily a program we introduced called Kopa for Good that drove a lot of those new hosts. So right around March, end of March, we introduced a program called Kopa for Good, which enabled hosts to check off these requirements that say, okay, it meets cleaning standards, it's affordable and like at least slightly discounted from the typical market rates, and a few other check boxes. And if they met those requirements, we opted them into this program called Kopa for Good, so that travel nurses, frontline workers, those in desperate need of housing could look for these clean, affordable places to live. And we actually were fortunate to see press come from that as well. Like Yahoo picked it up, Rent Responsibly, Landlord Gurus, a few others. And I think that was actually primarily what drove a lot of that new supply, that Kopa for Good program, including some companies that opted in as well. So some of the co-living companies and the Y hotels and Saunders and them joined that program. So we had kind of our landing page with some of their logos on there too. So I think that was the biggest one that drove the supply.
Awesome.
Very good.
So Elizabeth, do you have any other questions that we want to fire before we end today's episode?
So this is not related exactly to Kopa, but can you tell us your favorite book or a book that you would like to recommend our guests to read or listen to?
Oh, that is a great question. Okay, I'm fantasy fiction kind of person. I definitely mix it up between fiction and just educational content, like the Bill Gates kind of books. So I really like the ones that just tell a story that brings me to a kind of different world. And one of the somewhat more recent ones is Ready Player One that I love, which is based in the future in kind of like this VR world. And I don't know, I just got lost in it. Steven Spielberg picked it up and did the movie for it about a year ago. Personally, I like the book a lot more, but that book I love.
Okay, so Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah. The book you'll like more, trust me.
Okay. It usually works out that way. The book is a lot better than the movie. So, awesome. Well, Jack, thank you so much for being on our episode number 2 of season 3. And congratulations on all your success. I'm blown away that we're able to get you as an interview with all your accolades to follow.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. And thank you both for having me, and congrats on your success as well. It's exciting. I've been following now for a few months and love what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks. We're extending our reach because of people like you. So we definitely appreciate the opportunity to interview somebody like you. So Jack, and until next time, man, we'll catch up with you.
Sounds good, and Happy New Year.
All right.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
All right, Super E. That was a great interview for episode 2, and I look forward to the other interviews that we have coming up here this season. And I hope they can be as amazing as Jack and his company are. So, you have any closing thoughts for today, Elizabeth?
I would say we actually have sunshine today in Indianapolis, so make sure to just to stay warm out there and make it as best a day as you can.
Just soak up that vitamin D, baby.
That's right.
All right. All right, everybody. This is episode 2. I'm Justin Bogard with Bright Path Notes.
And I'm Elizabeth with Elizabeth Mayora.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you.
The Two Wealth Show is produced by Justin Bogard and Super E, sponsored by Bright Path Notes and Elizabeth Mayora. Thanks for listening and watching for our show.